All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, how's it going? It's Adam and Rex. This is Silver Linings Podcast, 5,323rd episode. Not close to that. But we are doing a live today because of what Nate Eaton's interview with Lori inspired people to want to talk about this situation with Lori in jail and the questions that Nate had. And so we're going to be taking your questions. Make sure that you get your questions in. We'll do the best we can to answer them. I did watch this. I know I've been criticized so much about having a podcast and not wanting to know what's going on. How could Adam do a podcast and he doesn't even know what's even going on? It's unprofessional. We never said this was a professional podcast. Hello.
We've
this is not a
proven that.
We've proven this over and over again. This is not a professional podcast. But I did watch last night. I was at work and I had about an hour and I watched Nate's interview with Lori. And I know that Nate got hammered with people upset with him about not, being nice to Lori. And being in the radio business and being a interviewer, interviewing, I don't know, thousands of people of all different walks of life, celebrities, sports figures, regular people, like all over the board. As an interviewer, as I understand, Nate, I thought, did a good job of asking the questions that a lot of people wanted to hear, trying to hold Lori accountable for those things. And sometimes when you're interviewing people, even though if you don't like them or if you think they're a terrible person or whatever it is, when you're actually doing the interview, you have to make some kind of connection with the person you're interviewing to get the most out of them that you can. I wasn't expecting Lori to answer any questions the way I wanted them to be answered. So I went in there with those expectations. But I hate that Nate is getting like all this, hate mail for being nice to Lori. Because I know if one of you were to interview and you're not professional interviewers and you want to go interview her, you'll lose your crap within 3 seconds and the interview's over and she walks out and you walk out. So it just doesn't work like that. At least in my perspective of interviewing. So give Nate a break with some of those comments. What do you want to say, Rex?
I just say I love Nate, and last night I was listening for Nate's interviewing. I was not listening for Lori's answers, and I wasn't disappointed. In fact, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't watch the whole thing because, and let me explain why. I don't have any expectations of Lori saying anything rational, but to sit there, I think it was the contrast, to sit there and listen to what was coming out of her mouth and her whole being. It was the most pure evil I have experienced in my life. I don't have a better way to describe it. It's a much deeper, darker feeling than that, but it was pure evil for her to be saying what she is saying when we know the reality, especially of what she did to her children. And to know that people are listening, that were out there on that day digging through the dirt, and I'm talking about the law enforcement people, digging through the dirt trying to find pieces of Tylee's body. And she's up there saying it was a conspiracy, basically, is what she's saying, just a narrative that was being, that's just, you can't get more evil than that. And I could only take so much of it. I couldn't listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. So obviously when we're dealing with Lori, it's hard to not get emotional about it. It's hard not to get angry, having all kinds of feelings watching the situation. Obviously she's denying everything. She has her own narrative. And unless you're on the bus, Nate, you're not getting it. Get on the bus.
On the boat.
Oh, on the boat. Yeah, get on the boat, Nate. Once you get on the boat, then we can have a discussion. Nobody's on your boat, Lori. As soon as you told me that you were a translated being, I was off your boat immediately, and you never talked to me again. Unless people are on Lori's boat, maybe the the women on death row and in prison are on her boat. Who knows? But unless you are letting her tell her narrative and then you act like you believe her narrative, that's the only way you're going to have communication with her. And so I think that's where, a lot of people like the Melanies and Zulema, and I think all of them, they all encouraged each other to have, to follow, to encourage each other to have all these crazy thoughts. And when you're all in that same group of having these crazy thoughts or these fantasies, then you want to be around each other. And those why those people were all around each other. Anybody else who said you guys are nuts gets booted out, and they're not going to be able to have a conversation with you because you're not following their narrative. So it's a little frustrating to have these facts. One thing that got me last night was Nate was just spitting facts, nothing but facts. And Lori was saying it's a conspiracy. That's not what happened. Tylee didn't die, before JJ. Nothing. Everything that all the facts and all the truth that came out, Lori denied it. No, that's just the police trying to make a narrative for the prosecution's making a narrative. None of that's true. Like everything that Nate said was true. That was a fact. She had something to say. It was like everybody's against her, which is so frustrating.
Yeah, you just have to keep low expectations. Here's why I was looking forward to being with y'all today. Sea Star, when we're talking about getting on the boat, Sea Star points out that it was the Titanic. I love that. That's why I was looking forward to getting with you. We're all of like minds. We're all equally frustrated. We all hate the evil that we saw. And this is a free vent zone as far as that's concerned, unless you start venting about Adam or some other stuff we don't like, because my skin's pretty thin today, so
yeah,
you might hear some of that boiling over we've talked about before, because that was just tough to process that stuff last night.
Yeah, and I didn't go on. I saw Nate's video. Maybe it was on YouTube, but I didn't see any comments. I didn't read anything. I just know a bunch of people said they were angry, or I read somewhere somebody said people were angry at Nate for being nice to Lori. And so that's why I started the podcast with, look, when you're interviewing people and you're trying to get something out of him, and Nate's doing this because he's a journalist. He's trying to get the best he can out of it, wishing Lori a happy birthday, trying to make a connection with her. Sometimes you have to do things to make a connection to get the person to answer questions. And he was trying to get answers, and obviously, he made some great points and she just blew right past it.
Here was one of the comments that I loved. I didn't read any comics, but Lisa did. Thank heavens I have Lisa to help me process.
Yeah.
She was doing a great job last night, but she gave me this comment because she knew I'd love it. It looks like it was on Colby's podcast, I guess, but it's from Amy Salceda, who I think follows us too. We might see Amy on here.
Okay.
But she said, I'm an atheist, but she sure makes me think that hell is a great idea.
Right. Yeah.
So I love this community, and I love that we all think the same way, and we're all pretty kind to each other, not necessarily to Lori, but we don't mind that.
Yeah. The other thing too, I feel is, Lori bringing up, the church and President Nelson, and when he says things go. So why did you think you can go, you and Chad, Lori? So I wanted to be Nate so bad and be in that room to ask questions to rebuttal everything she had to say. But so why are you guys saying the end of the world's coming? And she tried to deny that. And you said that you guys were picked by Jesus to do this work and this mission. But then again, you contradict yourself and say, well, we're following the prophet. Whenever he says it's time to go to do whatever, like she just was like, always it's her narrative. And it's always contradicting. No matter what she did, she uses something that she can use to make it in her own mind rational.
In her own mind, key phrase.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, being a well-known boat rocker herself, Lindsay Gandy, says,
Yes.
I kind of want to get on the boat just to see what's happening on the boat. Know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
Lindsay, we don't know what you mean because we aren't boat rockers like you.
No.
Actually, I
Ask
think we do know what you mean.
ask the Melanies and Zulima about the boat. How'd the boat go for them? And Chad.
Love seeing that comment from Lindsay though.
Yeah.
Does, Brenda Davis wants to know, did any of Lori's family stay in touch with her? Do you know if anyone talks to her? I don't know of anyone.
That talks to Lori?
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
stays in touch with her is the question.
yeah, I don't know. I know my mom. I think my mom talks to her. I think Summer used to, but doesn't anymore. I'm not sure if they write letters or if they talk on the phone. I'm not sure what, but yeah, there's some kind of communication.
That's one of those things we don't talk about in the family. We don't talk about who talks to Lori. We don't want to know where everyone is in supporting Lori or not supporting Lori. No one's supporting her in the sense that, we think she should be somewhere that she isn't.
Yeah,
everyone agrees she should be in prison. But
right, so if you have a child and your child is in jail for something, and you obviously know that your child is wrong about everything, and it breaks your heart that they're there and that they acted like this. Just because you have contact with them doesn't mean you agree with them. Or if you're trying to have communication with them, and to me it would hurt my heart more to know that it's you have a child in jail that is evil or delusional or whatever, and then try to have a normal conversation with them, or try to talk to them, and just be hurt every time you do it. It's like torture. So if my mom or Summer does do that, I'm sure it's torture to them if they do talk to her.
good insight. Good point.
Yeah.
Our friend Brandon Kuhn says, Adam and Uncle Rex, last night was the first time Lori said Alex got rid of the kids. Did y'all hear that when she said, Alex told me he put JJ and Tylee in a safe place? I didn't hear that. I may not have been listening at that time.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's something of note.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon, for that insight.
One of the things one of the things that because it just popped in my head before you read this question was when Nate asked Lori about the kids and Tylee dying first and committing suicide, or killing JJ and then committing suicide, or whatever it was, that her narrative. That I wish Nate would have been like, well, how come when you called Chad from jail and Chad was telling you the FBI was there digging up his yard, all of a sudden you're, hey babe, what are you doing? How come that went silent? How come it went completely silent? And panic on both of your voices, everybody heard that phone call. How come that happened, Lori? And then explain what happened. Why would it be a big deal if the FBI was there digging in Chad's yard, Lori, if you didn't know the kids were buried there? I got so much stuff. I might want to do my own interview with Lori.
Braden Star wants to know, Adam and Rex, were you aware, according to Lori, that she had a near-death experience during Tylee's birth? Yeah, we heard that. We heard that for the first time. Anyone in the family heard it for the first time at Lori's sentencing in Idaho.
Yep.
Never heard it before that. But if you look at the pattern, Adam is very good about pointing out patterns. If you look at the pattern with all of these whack jobs that follow this, let me say this right, because it's not just the preppers, but all the Chad, Lori, Julie, Rowe, Barnett, whatever. There's something, Julie Rowe's doing she's still around doing stuff. I don't know.
Into the world stuff, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the patterns that we've seen in this case specifically, Julie Rose started getting popular talking about her near-death experience. So all of a sudden, Chad, who wanted to be popular, realized that an experience he'd written about in a book was a near-death experience. So now he's had a near-death experience. Then he realized, oh, I've had two near-death experiences, and the veil is parted, and I'm right there in Jesus, and I used to be the Holy Ghost, and I'm right up there. So Lori had to jump on and have her own claim to a near-death experience.
Yes.
That's how they make this crap up. They're
And
just trying to
did
keep
you see what Lori
covering.
said to Nate? Nate, me and Chad have both had near-death experiences, multiple of them. Have you ever had one, Nate? It's kind of almost like she's cocky about having these near-death experiences, even though she's never had them. She's now claiming that she has. So, yeah.
They just make crap up. It's just all evil. Speaking of evil, Lee T says, it's evil for her to say there aren't victims. Yeah, no kidding. That's evil when she created the victims. That's
right.
I,
Everybody's in heaven having a good time. Everybody, okay.
Well, that part I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, her
Right.
victims are in heaven and they are probably having a good time. And
Yeah.
she won't get around them. A couple questions on this. I'll put Kelly B's up. Good evening from the UK. Thank you. Will you read Lori's book? Not a chance. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, I just found out in that interview that she's writing a book. No, I'm not reading that book because we already know what the book's going to say. It's going to say exactly that. Tylee had such a terrible life, and this is what happened to her. And, all the things you heard in the interview, that's all going to be in the book. And if that made you mad, why would you want to read the book and make yourself mad?
Yep.
It's all going to be crap anyways.
Yes, it is, because that's all that comes out of her.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be the case because she's supposedly a translated being. So how could she get sick and how could she have crap coming out of her? But
right.
That's the way it is. The timeline's not firmly fixed in my mind, Kelly. So good insight here. She slipped out and said Tylee died 2 days before her birthday. So Kelly's saying Tylee's date that law enforcement established or the coroner established is 2 days before her birthday. If that's the case, I didn't catch that, not being aware of the timeline. Good catch there, Kelly. A lot of you are just good sleuths. That's another thing we love about being associated with you, because we are not.
We get emotional when we hear the word "the" and we're like all in aroused. We get so emotional we forget a lot of the stuff.
And Brendan asks, is President Nelson the one Charles wanted to get Lori in front of for the intervention? And no, President Nelson is the president of the LDS Church, the one we revere as a prophet.
Right. That'd be a little difficult too. The
president that they were talking about was a stake president, a local leader, someone that Adam knew that was right there in Gilbert or in that area, right? Adam? Yeah. Okay. And thank you, Slightly Bent, for the donation. She said, I was proud of Nate for staying with the facts. No kidding. Didn't he do a great job? She thought for sure that she could manipulate him, and she was not able to.
Yeah. We all saw through it.
And apparently she didn't get the M&Ms at the end. And that was a thing.
Oh.
From Lee R. I'm watching from Israel, and we're just glad you're watching and glad things are settling down over there.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, relative to what was going on. I know it's still probably crazy. Watch Nate's interview. First full circle moment, a proof of how Lori's mind works. Totally bonkers.
Yep.
That's a good scientific term. Very accurate.
Apparently her and Chad are getting out of jail. God's going to come at some point. The word soon could be anytime. So she really doesn't have anything to worry about.
But before he's executed, she was specific about that.
Yes. Yep.
So there'll be another cover when he is executed, and she's covering for that statement.
Yeah. I never said that. Especially what was it, the July 20th end of the world? She's like, well, somebody came up with that. It wasn't us. I never said it, and Chad never said it. I'm like, I remember her and Alex telling me all the time, well, the end of the world's going to be on this date. I'm like, are you guys nuts? You can't predict the end of the world. And then that day came, and I was like, guys, what's happened? I thought this is the end of the world. Well, it didn't happen. We didn't. There's always some kind of an excuse. It's going to be on this date now. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's too much.
Diane Van has a question. What was she referring to about President Nelson? Who is that, and what did she say that guided her that way? I don't know, because I wasn't listening to her closely enough, especially if she brings up church, President Nelson, any church leaders. I'm not going to listen to her. I wasn't listening closely enough. Do you know, Adam? Can you?
Yeah, she mentioned she mentioned that we're living in the last days. In the LDS Church, we believe that we're living in the last days, and then we're waiting for President Nelson to tell us what we're supposed to go do, or like all the preppers. They want to do a call out. They want to have a tent city. They want all these things that they think are going to happen, even though President Nelson's never said any of that. So it's like one of these things that people just want their own agenda. They want things to happen, and so they throw in the church when they want to throw in the church to make it fit their own narratives.
And just to be clear, the name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We do believe these are the latter days as opposed to the former days around the time that Christ was on the earth, meaning these are the days leading up to the second coming of Jesus Christ, although we do not claim to know when that is.
Right. We don't, but Chad and Lori do.
Yeah, well, at least they didn't tell us that last night. Guido Litgens. Rex, can I throw in a line? Yes, the way this works, Guido, put the line down, and our good, I was going to say admin, she's our moderator, our good moderator, Cammie. Cammie's moderating for us tonight. Thank you, Cammie.
Yes, Cammie, thank you.
Missy is in chat, but Cammie's moderating. And so if Cammie sees your line, Guido, and it's not mean, she can put a star on it, and then Adam and I go through the stars and pick which ones come on here. So that's the way you can throw in a line. I wish we could be a little more personal than that, but there are a lot of us, so we do what we can. So would welcome a line from you, Guido. A nice line from you, Guido. Thank you, Teresa, for donating $2. When is Tylee's birthday? I don't have that off the top of my head. I'd have to run in and look at the calendar.
Yeah, I don't either.
I have my children's birthday, not my grandchildren or my son-in-laws. So I'm doing good with mine.
I know mine, and I know my
yours
son's.
is in April.
Yes.
Yeah, yours is in April. I know that.
And you and Zach have the same birthday, so I know yours and his.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
there's some people who are amazing with birthdays. They have it on their calendar. They send birthday shout outs, every year. They got a whole birthday system thing down, which is amazing to me.
And Brenda, this is a fact. Yes, Tylee really did have pancreatitis and was hospitalized. I believe the number is 9 times in her life. 8 or 9
it was a lot. I remember that.
And that's a real thing, and it was real pain.
Yeah.
So that's one thing Lori said that is true, that Tylee was sick a lot. Good. Well, I was looking for something true that she said.
Well, Nate, after the interview, went over a whole thing of checklist, and a lot of things that Lori said were true. And then the other stuff that were checked were like not true. So if you watch his interview at the end, he goes through a whole checklist of facts or not facts of what Lori said.
We just love the work Nate did. We appreciate Nate so much. That's going to send me into a soapbox moment. If you remember of course you wouldn't remember the first Silver Linings podcast we did 2 years ago. My first silver lining was the wonderful, wonderful people that are involved in all of this. And one of those people from the very beginning, dang it, now I got off track and can't remember because I looked at the comment here and it was a different.
Thought your brain is gone.
It is gone. It is gone. But they're just some wonderful people that we rely on. And when that thought comes back to me, I get back
you were so going on a soapbox about Nate and other people that helped.
Oh, Nate.
With the case. Yeah.
Yeah. And Nate's the one. We just, from the very beginning, we've loved everything he's done. And, you know, he can do no wrong as far as we're concerned. So we really appreciate his work on this. Brandon Kuhn says, Lori said Tammy Daybell went to the temple with her and Chad before she died. I wouldn't be surprised if Tammy and Chad went to the temple the same time Lori was there, and they knew they would. I believe Tammy knew Lori. I don't know what the extent of the relationship was, but I don't know that they went as there could be some weird things behind that.
There's some rumors about and obviously these are rumors. I know nothing about it because I don't know anything about Chad or Tammy. But there were rumors about that somehow Lori and Tammy and Chad were, you know, friends together. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, or how that worked, or any of that. But
so that's kind of related to this from Mon. Do you think Lori believes the lies she tells?
I don't know. It's hard to say. If you have to believe the lies you say to live with yourself, or do you know it's all crap and you're just trying to survive? I don't know. That's such a weird vibe to figure out what's in Lori's brain.
It is. And I do not know, but the way I have explained it, the way I accept it to myself, you know, I make room like all of us do.
Yeah.
Try to make sense of all this, fit it together in my mind. I believe she's completely committed to the lies she tells. She's committed to them. She knew when she made the crap up, or heard it from Chad, when Chad made the crap up, she knew it was just lies, but committed to them. So some people say, well, then that becomes your reality. Okay. I don't know how that works psychologically.
Yeah, right.
But she is definitely committed to them. Golden Rule asks, oh, good point, Golden Rule. She can't write a book and sell it, right? She can't profit from a book. So
I don't think she cares about that. I think she cares about getting her narrative out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Christy W. asks, what did you think about Lori saying she wasn't ready to talk about the kids when Nate was asking in Hawaii, but they are just hanging out by the pool and they were safe? I think she is accurate that she wasn't ready to talk about it.
Obviously, they're dead.
For darn sure.
Yeah. Oh, how are the kids, Lori? Where are the kids? Oh, they're in Chad's backyard buried.
Yeah. Christy, that's just part of it, isn't it? The whole infuriating stuff that came out of Lori's mouth. I love that Nate was asking the questions and trying to hold her accountable, but I don't care what came out of her mouth. Obviously I care because I'm still upset about it, but I'm trying not to put any energy in that. Sonia Brisson, if she's a translated being, why is she sick? Exactly.
Yeah, we made those points. Why is she eating the food if she doesn't like the food? That's another thing that I would. Oh my gosh, that's another thing. I would bring that up if I was Nate. Like I need my interview time with Lori. I need to go above all these. Nate asked great questions, but I would follow it up with another question that she can't get out of. Well, if you're a translated being, why are you eating the food here? I heard you said you don't like the food. Why? How do you get sick if you're a translated being? Like all these things to make her back up and say, oh, well, I'm not completely translated yet. I'm 83%, and you can still get sick. Who knows what she would say, right? But it would be something. I would guess it would be something like that.
Ostrich 29 wonders, Adam, if you talk to your dad, you always hear people asking about his mom, but not his dad.
Yeah, I talked to my dad. He
Mhm.
just doesn't. He's not involved. He tries not to be involved in all this. I mean, obviously, it's got to be difficult for him and my mom both. I think my dad supports my mom more than anything with all of this. But yeah, I'm sure it's super hard for him to articulate what's going on in his brain.
Tori Myers asks, Adam, what advice would you give to anyone with a narcissist sibling?
Um, I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot. Um, I mean, that part of it is hard. I know a lot of you think Lori was a narcissist her whole life. I don't know if I saw that. So Lori was always nice to me. She was kind to me. She was funny. She was, I there was no to me there was no negative things with Lori except for her husbands that she selected that she didn't get along with and got divorced. Um, but I guess like I didn't see her being a narcissist through her childhood or as an adult.
We didn't even know what a narcissist was or how to spell it even.
Exactly.
So, but Adam, why don't you piggyback on that with the message that you've been so consistent about in situations if you notice something way off, a family member going off the rails.
Yeah, and I always think, since Rex and I have started this podcast, one of the main things we did was we wanted to talk about the truth. As hard as it is to talk about family members, as hard as it is to take all the things that we took as far as me getting shut out from my family and cut off, that I think if there's something going on if you have a narcissist in your family and she does something to where it's hurtful to people or there's alarming things that are going off, then I think everybody needs to get together and sit down in a room and talk it out. And it might be the point where the person who is narcissist or doing the bad things either understands that they're the problem and everybody else is on board on that. Because I don't know, at least in our family, it was Lori lying about this and that and telling different lies to all different types of people, and me trying to get a big group together. Let's all sit in the same room so we can all sit and listen to the same things and figure out what makes sense and what's common sense and what isn't common sense. And that never happened. So my whole thing about doing this podcast was for families to be able to talk to each other, at least have conversations. After the conversations are over, fine. If you don't ever want to talk to anybody or somebody walks away because they, don't want to be around it or whatever it is, that's fine. But at least let everybody have the same, thoughts and actions that other people are talking about. So that would be my advice. If you have a narcissist sibling, go have a family meeting, talk about it.
Love it. Becky Klepper, Para-Life for Christ. Love that whole name that you go with there, Becky. With a $5 donation, thank you. Points out, and thank you, Becky, for following up on this. We didn't have the answer, and Becky bails us out here, Adam. In order for Tylee to die 2 days prior to her birthday, that would line up with her narrative of JJ's death, not the evidence. So Lori had thought of that ahead of time and lined it up that way. So okay. Thank you, Becky, for pointing that out.
Yeah, I don't know the timelines on all that. Definitely.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying for both of us.
Yeah.
September 24th, Brandon tells us it's Tylee's birthday. Thank you for that too. Mary Steelman says with a $10 donation, if the proceeds from the sale of Lori's book were going to her, quote, non-victims, I would buy it. I might read it, but I know it would be more mind vomit. That's a good description there, Mary. Mind vomit. That's
Mind
what we
vomit.
heard last night. Got to go back and catch up a little bit here. Not sure if we want to answer this one. I'll come back to it. Okay, so here's the line from Guido Litjens. Rex, I see a pattern on the boat. If you agree with me, I can stay. If not, I push you out. But I can save you.
Right.
That's
perfect. That's brilliant.
That's a great description.
Yes. Yep. That's
So,
exactly what I feel like too. Exactly.
So Adam, Guido is a person of your same thinking, looking for the patterns on there, and that's a good one there.
That's the Lori pattern for sure.
Yep. Let's see. Brenda Davis says, Tylee and JJ were not my relatives, nor did I know them. I became attached, to which some may say that's strange. It just makes me so sad and angry what they did to these kids. Good grief, Brenda. There are a million of us. I don't know what the exact number is, but so many that, yeah, the way I say it is they were emotionally adopted. Millions of people emotionally adopted them. So welcome to the family. Celine Thomas with a 10-pound donation. I'd love to have a psychiatrist opinion on the interview. I can see why people would believe her lies. She is convincing. Celine, I imagine, Adam and I often speak highly of Lauren and Dr. John, Hidden True Crime. He's a psychologist. I'm sure he will be they are very active in the true crime world. I'm sure he will be giving a reaction to this. So watch out for that, Hidden True Crime. And I think you'll get your wish. She's not I think he's a psychologist. I don't know, maybe he's a psychiatrist, but he's a forensic, I think, psychologist. Anyway, someone's going to tell us, but I think that's what you're looking for. So watch for Hidden True Crime would be my suggestion for that. And Sacred Valley Justice with a $10 donation. Thank you very much for that. And I got your question, Sacred Valley. If you would send us an email at rexandadam@gmail.com. We recently had a not so positive experience with an interview, so we'd be willing to talk with you about it, but we won't go into it here.
Rex, I saw somebody ask a question about a third book for you and I, or for me. Are we going to do another? Are we doing another book to say whatever Lori's book says after her book comes out, that we write another book about that book?
Let me get a drink. I have a little taste of vomit in my mouth. Hold on.
We can call the book Waffles, and just out of the blue, just call it Waffles.
How about green chili waffles?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
that would be
the whole green chili enchilada thing. So many people have asked me about that, and apparently Lori made them. I don't know why I don't remember them, but apparently she made them. But yeah, people were happy when I was on the stand that I didn't let her make that connection with me. I just was very stone cold with her. But I think a lot of people love that I did that, and I didn't do it on purpose. It was just, that was my demeanor being there.
I thinking about writing another book. I don't think anyone on the podcast has ever heard me swear. I'm not sure, Adam, if you've heard me swear, and we've played basketball together quite a bit, but
yeah,
that's a hell no on another book.
Hell no.
That's as close as I'll get to swearing here.
Hell's to the no.
Hell to the no, but that's a Bible swear words. I don't feel as bad about that.
Oh yeah.
Elmi A, question for Adam. Growing up, was Lori always as combative during an argument with someone who didn't agree with her or see her point of view?
I'm sure there were times where, yes, she probably wanted to be right. I mean, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast. If you're in a relationship with somebody, a marriage, and you want to be right, the thing about being right is if you would rather be right or rather be happy, which one do you want to do? I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to be right about things and will be like, "Oh, no, I'm right about this. I'm right about this." And there's an argument going back and forth who's right. I know lots of people like that. So I don't think it's Lori's any different than anybody else when it comes to I'm arguing this point and I want to be right about it.
Very good. I'm sorry, I'm reading some of the comments here and trying to
Are there
catch up
comments
on
that we don't
the
want to answer?
stars.
Why are we not answering all the comments? Are they to the
I
point where I'm
skipped
going to
a
get
I skipped a couple. So first of all, Cammy's doing a great job starring comments for us.
Yes,
I
Cammy, thank
skipped a
you.
couple because there are a couple of topics, Adam, that I don't think we want to get into on this podcast.
Okay.
And I'm deliberating as I sit here and read those.
Well, this is going to
Um,
be one of our last podcasts ever, so we might as well just let it all out.
well, as long as you jump that announcement, do you want to go ahead and make the announcement?
Yeah, Rex and I started this podcast 2 years ago by trying to ask information from you guys, how to what you want us to do about this book that we are writing. And after 10 episodes, so many of you asked us to continue the podcast that it was helpful for you and your healing, and because this was definitely healing for Rex and I to do this podcast. Well, 2 years later, Lori's into the last of her last trial. We've gone through all this. We've talked, we've given you our inside information, our inside thoughts, we've asked you to help us. There's so many people who have prayed for us. We've prayed for so many people. We've made so many friends. It's been an amazing experience to be part of this podcast, and so many great people that we've met and talked to, and people that have all kinds of hardships in their lives, not just ours, and people who had shared that with us, has really helped us heal. But because Lori's situation is over, obviously we do have questions that we would like answered, a lot of them that we're never going to know the answer to. But if we feel like there's really nothing more for us to do on a podcast. We're not professional podcasters. We don't make money. This isn't something we do full time. I'm a full time pickleball person. Rex has a company that he runs. So, I mean, we were doing this really to heal, and also let other people heal from it and try to make sense of it together as a group. And it just organically grew into something that we were not expecting. After the first 10 podcasts, Rex and I both were in tears with some of the stories that people said, and some of the things that you guys said that we meant to you by being open about our situation and our feelings. And I guess when you go to a therapist, they want you to be open with your feelings and open with your thoughts. And so, since I haven't been to a therapist, this has literally been therapy. Writing our book and doing this podcast has been so much therapy for me, which has been amazing. But after the sentencing, we're going to do another podcast after this one with the sentencing. And then after that, we don't really know if we're ever going to do another podcast, depending on if somebody wants to come on and there's something that we can learn from it. We'll do that. But it's not going to be a regular podcast anymore. Did I do that right or not? Am I wrong?
That's pretty good. Yeah, we won't have a regularly scheduled podcast. I think you explained it well. We are trying right now. We're following up on what we said we'd do at this point, and that is there are a lot of questions that aren't answered, and as Adam said, many will not be answered. But we want to get as many answers as we can. So I'm submitting some of those. Adam and I each made a list. I'm submitting some of mine to Nate because Nate's going to try to answer questions. And we have a list of questions. We have a list of people we feel could answer those questions. So we're in the process of contacting those people and saying this can be on or off the record. As family members, can we talk with you and ask these questions? And even at that, it is difficult to get some people to talk to us for various reasons, all very valid. We understand that.
Right.
But if someone says, hey, I'll talk to you on the record, we'll record it and post it as a podcast. If we get some answers that we feel are significant that would be that everyone would like, and they allow us to share them, we're going to let the people that will give us answers dictate the terms of it. We will share what people let us share if we feel it's applicable to everyone.
Yeah. So like
So
I
we're
said,
going
this is
to
we're just winging it at this point.
Yeah, we'll continue that process. If we don't have that, you won't see any more podcasts from us, unless there's a big event. Like we think this interview with Lori by Nate Eaton is a big event. That's why we did live. If there are other reasons to do big events or to do a live, we'll jump on and do a live. But I'll tell you, it won't be every time Lori grants an interview, because after this, when Lori filed saying she wants another trial, and then she said she contacted Nate and said, I'll have Nate interview me. I don't see that Lori's ever going to go away. My personal belief, like a lot of you've shared this, is she just wants the attention. And that's never going to end. I'm not going to respond every time she wants more attention. So now, weighing against that, where Adam and I feel like, as Adam described well, we've contributed what we have to contribute. If there's something we think we can contribute, we'd be glad to contribute it. But weighing against that is, we love being with you guys. It is so satisfying and healing, but we just can't justify, taking all that energy from you without feeling we have something to give back. So yeah, we'll now, having said that, if you don't mind me continuing the announcement, Adam.
Sure.
We have a project that we're considering. It's not a podcast. It wouldn't be associated with this case. It has to do with AI. We have an idea. We're looking for the right producer, right situation to present it. If a provider decides it has merit, wants to pick it up, we will pursue that. If we do that, we'll let you all know. I won't go into too much detail, because who knows what it'll look like when a producer and a provider get a hold of it.
Yeah.
But that is not the same type of podcast we're doing. That would be for money. It's a whole different ballgame than what we're doing here. And we don't know what we're doing.
It's AI, right? Because AI is so new, and so many people are afraid of AI. Some people hate AI. Some people love it. But AI is definitely interesting. I mean, to say the least. There is some, after our preview, that what we tried out with AI was very interesting. Whether you think it's creepy or not, it's definitely interesting. So we'll see if it goes or not.
And if it does, we'll let you know, and would love your support. But
Yeah.
it won't be this environment.
No.
Now, if I can carry on the kind of what we were going to say along with the announcement, Diane Van's making this announcement, but we wanted to bring this up too. Can we shout it out that Colby and Brandon's new venture called Timber with Wings Media Company, we wholeheartedly endorse that. Okay, just because, one, we love Colby and Brandon,
Yeah.
and we think whatever they do will be a winner.
Mhm.
So they've already done a few events, I guess, a few interviews or something, but definitely, and that makes it a lot easier for me and Adam to step away, because one of the contributions we thought we were making was to give a family perspective. We weren't satisfied. There are other family members, like Kresh is a good source for, Larry and Kay's family, for that perspective. We weren't as comfortable with the perspective from anyone else on our side of the family, but with Colby now out there and Brandon joining forces with him makes it real easy for Adam and I to step away,
Yep.
knowing that family perspective is well represented.
Yeah.
So thank you, Diane, for helping us continue our announcement there. And Deborah Owens asked, will you be attending the sentencing on the 25th? I will be. Adam, do you think you'll attend that?
No, I probably have to work.
Okay. So I'll be there with some of my daughters. Lisa's going to come to town probably for that. And so, yeah, I'll be there. I'd be glad to see any of you that are there. Adam and I are going to do a live after that. We're planning on doing a live the next day, Saturday, the 26th. Maybe we'll do a meet and greet, Adam.
Sure.
And we could do the live from the meet and greet if we did that. So
we'll go to Pandera, or what's it called?
Panera.
Panda. I was like Panda Express and Panera mixed.
I think you're like Pandora's box opening things that'll never get put
Panda
back in the
Era.
box.
Panda Era. You put a Panda Express and Panera together.
And this is Guido again. Guido Litchins. Guido. I'm not sure what TXXX means, but I'm going to say Texas because that's where I'm from. Greetings from Holland. Oh, so that's where Guido is from. Guido, you normally think of as an Italian name, but thanks for the greetings there. Shannon Parker, did you notice the way she reacted to Nate's question about if she and Chad had something to do with Alex's death? Do you think they had anything to do with it? Yeah, I personally think they had everything to do with it.
Yeah.
Adam?
Yep, I agree. I think they're all in cahoots.
Yeah, cahoots. One of Adam's favorite words.
Is that a word, cahoot? In cahoots.
It is. Yeah. It is a word. Donna McCarthy with a $5 donation. Thank you, Donna. Lori is a typical groomer. Love bombing other prisoners so she can be adored. Hi from Australia, I believe that's AU. Yep, that's a good observation there, Donna. Yeah. Thank you for that. And now another, this is McCarthy. That was McCartney. This is E. McCarthy. What you make of Lori saying Tylee was never happy and lived her whole life in horrific pain?
Yeah, I know Tylee was sick a lot and was in a lot of pain certain parts of her life. But there's other parts that I saw that she was happy and laughing and, all that. So you can't say always. The word always bothers me when people say, oh, you always do this. No, not always. Maybe I've done it before, but not always. So when Lori says always, Tylee wasn't always in pain. She did have pain. She did go through a lot, but there was times where she was happy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Just well said. Dr. Von DeKay with a $20 donation says, you will always be in our hearts. Treats on us. All right, Adam, we have some money specifically for treats. So
ice cream.
You don't eat much sugar. I may need to eat yours. So
no, I can have a bite.
We'll get together when I'm there. When
you're here, we'll get some treats if we do a meet and greet somewhere and do treats.
Yeah, well, and that'll be for everyone that comes. Yeah. Julia Miller with a $20 donation. Thank you both for all you've done for us. You are welcome. Prayers for continued healing and family growth. Thanks. Well, I don't want my family grandkids. Yeah, okay. Family growth.
You're not making an announcement. You got Lisa pregnant. using curse words.
That would be quite the announcement with some curse words. Yeah, then you would hear me curse. Oh, that would be something. we watched our grandkids over the weekend, and like we always do, we said that's just an energy that grandparents just don't have anymore. We had it when we had kids at home. We don't have it anymore.
Right. Oh my. I made myself laugh. Sorry.
Yeah, that was good. Not that good.
Right. I mean, it's funny to me. It's good. It's good for me.
Mary Trotter tells us Colby is interviewing Nate tonight. Boy, there's a interview that'll be well worth it because we'll enjoy both sides of that interview as opposed to one side when it was just Nate and Lori.
Yeah.
Sarah Kirkpatrick makes a great observation here. Her lies are so easy to prove. For example, the Jeep tire and the seat were sitting in the garage, so she moved them to the storage unit, which is what she said. But she forgets that we know she Googled how to remove the Jeep seat. Yeah,
there's so much evidence. There's so many, but that's the thing. In an interview, you got to back her into a corner on everything.
Well, you won't get it even if you back her into a corner because she won't acknowledge being in a corner.
But it's good to see her squirm and try to come up with something when she constantly gets backed into a corner. I mean, that would be my satisfaction of to constantly back her into a corner. And every time she says something, well, then how come this happened? And then have to come up with something else. And I'll be just answer the question, Lori. Answer the question.
Okay, Adam, sounds like you've got an interview coming up.
Do you think if I submitted an interview for her that she would accept it?
Give it a shot. She talked to you in the courtroom during the trial.
True. Mr. Cox. It's so weird. Mr. Cox. I'm like, okay, that's enough. I can't believe people are on here in the middle of the day. Well, I guess it's the middle of the day in Arizona.
Yeah. People are on from all over the world.
Yeah.
As we already saw, UK, it's pretty it's later in the evening. Sacred Valley Justice with another $5. Thank you. You're very generous. My heart goes out to you both. If she wants us to go on for an interview, Adam, that's what I was referring to earlier. She said we can talk about family divided and how to unite on sacred justice.
Go on.
Because her name's Sacred Valley Justice.
We can go on whose interview?
Sacred Valley Justice.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So that sounds very, very pleasant. Let's talk more. And that's why I gave you the brexandadam@gmail.com.
Yeah, anytime we can promote people talking, families talking, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that, our good moderator. RexandAdam@gmail.com is scrolling down at the bottom. There are so many games we just didn't play with this.
Right.
Let's see what Teresa Warner with a $5 donation says. And to compare Nate and Evan Almighty movie, that one floored me.
That's how Lori's mind works, though. This is what we're talking about. She thinks that she's part of this. Her narrative with her and Chad are like that. You don't have to. You won't believe when the flood comes. We're the ones that God asked us to make the boat. You saw him talk to God, right? That happens. That happened to me and Chad. Like those whole things are just making all this. And you should say, Lori, that's a movie, a fiction movie. It's not reality. That's the thing. It's not reality. It's a fiction movie.
The reality is there are dead people that you killed, Lori. That's the reality you should be focused on. CC Denver asks this question. Before Adam answers, I'll say, I'm not sure if legally Adam qualifies as a victim, because he's a brother-in-law to Charles. I'm not sure if that, there are legal qualifications to make victim statements. So let's say you did qualify, Adam. Would you do a victim impact statement?
No, to me, again, I know a lot of you have your own thoughts about justice and who deserves what and what needs to be said. Charles knows how much I loved him. I tried to help him as much as I could. Me writing a statement that's being read on a court doesn't mean anything to me. Zero. Charles knows exactly how I helped him, what we went through together. I don't like getting involved in court situations. I just don't want to be there. I don't want to have anything to do with court. And a lot of you don't understand that, and that's fine. That's just how I see it. So yeah, I didn't write a victim. I didn't write a statement for Tylee and JJ either, and I got crumbled for that. I punished, people just want to judge. But that's just not, I don't want to do it. And it doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I didn't support them. It doesn't mean I'm crushed by what happened to them. So just because I don't want to do that. So I would not write one.
Okay.
Plus my writing is terrible anyways. I've written 2 books that have not sold any copies.
Wait, I know I bought your copy of your Crazy Radio Life. So.
Okay, so the one.
All right, and that closes it. That's our hour here with the live. That's all the starred questions. Thank you again, Cammie. You did a great job, and stay on for a minute. You can tell us how much more of a job you had to do that we didn't even see. Thank you, Missy, for doing that for us so many times. And if we don't see y'all before, we will see you the 26th of July. We think is our tentative time. It was in the afternoon, Adam. Do you remember what time we said?
I think 4 my time. Yeah, 4 my time.
At 4 Pacific time or Arizona time.
Yeah.
So, and we may see you in the meantime. Thanks for being with us. Adam, closing statement.
Thank you guys a lot for supporting us in this podcast, and keep doing what you're doing, and we're here to support you if we can in any way. Let us know. You have our email.